Hello and welcome everyone to a brand new episode of our Resiliency program podcast, Burnout to Brilliance. And today with us we have Geeta Kapur ji, and Geeta Kapur is the ex-CMD of SJVN, which is Satluj Jal Vidyut Nigam, and she has more than 32 years of experience. She has been in HR and she has played pivotal role in building up her organization. So, thank you so much, Geeta ma'am, for taking out time for this and for joining us today.
Right. Thank you, Deepika.
So, my first question to you would be, you have had a long career, and I'm sure that there must have been a lot of obstacles that you must have faced. Can you share what was your biggest obstacle? Like, if you look back to the 32 years of the work that you did, what was your biggest obstacle, and how do you think that being resilient played a role in overcoming that obstacle?
I think my biggest obstacle was making myself comfortable in the environment. Why I say so? I was the first female HR officer to join SJVN. That was number one. So, being the only female officer around and in to start with was not very comfortable environment. There were times I was very uneasy, but with the yes, there was a hope to cling to. Yes, that I will find my comfort in whatever environment is offered to me, and the kind of persistence I thought I'm going to continue with the job. So. Uh, I think within a very short span of time, I made myself at ease, at comfort to speak, to put up my views and opinions in a very fair and a candid manner amongst all. And with the passage of time, of course, acceptance also increased. And
Mhm.
resilience, of course, I should say, is one of the most important quality of an executive, whatever environment is offered, because you cannot always choose your environment. As it is said, you cannot choose your boss, you cannot choose your colleagues, and one has to really see that in whatever environment is offered to you, how you make yourself comfortable and impactful.
Like they say, bloom where you planted,
Yeah,
right?
bloom where you planted, that's very important.
Yeah. So SJVN grew immensely under your guidance. In our last conversation, we uh, had a chance to, understand some figures, as to from where to where under your guidance SJVN grew. So, how did you build that organization resilience? So one is your personal resilience, where you learned to speak up your mind and put your point, no matter whether there's another woman in the room or not. How did you make sure that SGVN as an organization became resilient under your guidance?
See, when I joined SGVN as an organization, I had just started with
Right.
the first project that we were handed over, that is Nathpa Jahakri Power project and 1500 megawatt our flagship project. We just started, and so there was a lot to be done. We picked up all we so there was a lot of you know environment had to be built, culture had to be built, and we started identifying ourselves with other sister PSUs like NHPC, NTPC. We picked up policies and practices that we found were necessary to run a big organization, to build a good culture amongst all. And incidentally, I was amongst the team who started HR in SJVN. We were a very small group, and we started writing policies, giving them shape, making changes wherever they were wanted. And so it was building from scratch, and learning from our experiences, learning from experiences of the outside world, and building the environment what is needed to run a big organization. It was a real challenge, and I
Mm-hmm.
think we did a very good job, because today Estevan stands tall with a portfolio of more than 50 projects in hand, all forms of energy. We started with hydro, and today we are in all forms of energy. You call it wind, thermal, hydro, solar, and every year committed to implement more than 1,000 megawatt renewable energy. So that kind of commitment, that kind of stature took us a lot of commitment from each one of the team member to build that kind of an organization.
So in SJVN, as my understanding is, there are people who work in the office, and then there are a lot of people who work at the sites, right? So I'm
Ye-
sure each person is facing a different kind of challenge. So how do
Yes,
you
you're right,
so how do
because
you
we
make
have.
sure that all of their needs are taken care of as an HR?
You're right. We have a corporate office with its headquarter at Shimla. Beyond that, we have an office in Delhi, and all project sites. They are also offices. So what really takes you through is your practices and your policies, which are to be implemented at all locations, irrespective of the location. So that kind of a background you provide them, that kind of, you can say, foresight you provide the people who are working there, which is to be followed by all, which really takes you through. However, each site presents a very different challenge,
Yeah.
and even the form of energy is different. For example, the kind of challenges and hydro would face would be very different from that what solar faces or thermal faces. But there are some, you can say there are some grounds, there are some policies and practices which the organization promotes as a whole, which helps you to take the organization forward.
So this is for the audience. SJVN was one of the first clients that we worked with. Our team of resiliency program, we worked with SJVN for almost a year, and it was a great experience for us. But I would like to ask Geeta ma'am, what was your experience with resiliency program?
See, for SGVN, employee well-being has always been at the forefront. It not only gives a human approach, you can say, human approach to all your practices and policies, but employee well-being goes a long way in productivity, goes a long way in achieving targets. So we implemented a number of programs, including resiliency program. And
Mm-hmm.
I must say that resiliency went a long way. It provides for so many interfaces, like it gives you an opportunity to consult a nutritionist with your personal problems. It gives each employee access to so many kind of facilities, whether it's a nutritionist, a yoga session, a meditation session, or any other kind of help. You have counselors, you have nutritionists, you have yoga teachers, and so many others. Sometimes, the employees, you have to discuss personal problems or even personal issues which one faces in an environment where you have seniors, peers, juniors, and the environment is so dynamic with the which is changing every day. So those issues employees could be facilitated to discuss, to find answers to their problems. And sometimes you really need somebody to really discuss with, because then the way you assess the situation also becomes different when you are discussing it with yourself alone in your mind, and when you discuss it with an outsider who is will not sit in any kind of judgment, when you discuss it with a personal who is not going to rate you, the perspective also changes. So it facilitated one-to-one discussions by employees with all that a resiliency program offered, and so many well-being initiatives, which I think when you are busy doing a job, sometimes you miss. And once they are provided to you, you do away.
Yeah, yeah. So, what do you think is unique about resiliency program as compared to, because you said you had so many other employee well-being programs
Yeah,
also
we,
running
for example,
parallelly?
we had, subjected a large group of our employees, so many yoga sessions, but then there was no continuity with that teacher, right? a teacher came and briefed them for a day or even helped them to, practice yoga. But then that continuous assessment and continuous guidance was not available, whereas this kind of guidance was continuously available through the
A
residency
more
program.
structured kind of a
It
format
was
where
more structured, and you could come back after practicing something. You could come back and again discuss if there were any issues. So that kind of consistency which this program offered was unique in itself, and of course, it promoted a lot of well-being.
so, ma'am, from your experience, would you recommend other organizations also to include employee well-being programs if they want to
See, I
grow like
Yeah,
SJVN did?
yeah, as an HR head, I was the director HR for more than 5 years. I personally feel that well-being has to be a priority of any organization. And to facilitate well-being, it is very important to introduce new initiatives time and now, because everything is changing so dynamically, and issues are changing too. When the environment is changing, issues are also changing, and
Yes, sir.
so, this kind of environment, I would promote organizations to follow, because it is not very possible, rather, for the people who are in the management or even the HR team to help each and every employee to come to their help to. If they have issues in the work environment or others, or even personal behavioral issues or personal conflicts. So, this kind of help and facility, when provided, surely helps you to resolve a number of issues.
So, as a person with so much experience, what would be a key takeaway from this conversation for everybody who's listening? And I'm sure everybody
The
wants
key
their
takeaway, see, I
organization
have
to grow.
always maintained that while at work, you are not really you should help employees to experience life. When I say that, experience life goes much beyond the capsule of only work. And these kinds of initiatives, for example, which resiliency program offered to the employees, help the employees to look at other things. For example, learning yoga, learning meditation, looking at their own nutrition, practicing so many other exercises which would help them to be better, because every body is different, every individual is different, so the needs are also different. So individual needs can be discussed, can be deliberated upon. So my proposal, or I would say recommendations to the audience, would be that such kind of programs go a long way in making work life balance and providing a wholesome experience to employees at work, helping them to experience life much beyond work also.
Very well said. So, thank you, ma'am. Thank you again so much for taking out time and joining us today. And I'm sure people who are listening to this, they would definitely learn a thing or two from your experience. And
Right, thank you, Deepika.
thank you, everybody, for watching us today. And we are going to see you soon again with another episode and another guest. So, take care.
Thank you.